G'day. In this video, what I'll be looking at and showing you how to do is how to use the EnergyBarToolkit, which can be found off the Asset Store or part of the ES credit system. So the EnergyBarToolkit is a simple toolkit that can actually do a number of different things. And it can be health bars or loops or anything along those lines, and you can see that off the ES credit store. And the other thing that's actually worked for that MadPixel has actually done is they've created racing gauges that actually work quite well that you can use with the same system. So one of the main things that we're going to do is we'll just quickly jump to Unity, and I'm going to quickly speed through a quick damage component that would be based off our colliders and triggers events. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this ground just from this grey into like a dark green, so nothing special. And then I'm going to go and create under standard assets, particles, and just put a bit of a fire effect a little bit closer to my character. Okay, now that I've got this fire 1 here, the very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go add component, and I'm going to go collider. I'm going to grab just a sphere collider, and you can see as I zoom in, you can slightly see that green circle. We're actually going to make that a little bit bigger. No, one's still too small. Yep, that should do. And we're going to select that as is trigger. So currently now all I have is under my fire, there's a trigger event. So when my character goes through it, I can actually take damage. So that's what I'm actually going to start looking at. So the very next thing I need to do is I need to create that on trigger event. So I'm going to go to my scripts folder, right button click, and I'm going to create a new JavaScript. I'm going to call this fire damage. Double click that one, and that will open up in MonoDevelop. Now once that's actually opened, you'll actually see, to most make sure you select the right tab, I've also opened up triggers, and the reason for that is why should we actually have to retype everything if we've already got it here? So I'm actually going to go through and just copy my function. So on trigger enter, I'm actually going to change on trigger enter to when it's staying, because that means when it's staying inside the trigger. It doesn't happen just once. It's as long as you're inside the fire, you would be burning. And I'm going to place down a quick debug.log saying I am in the fire. Now, one thing I forgot to do was placing in the quotation marks. So I am speeding through this quite a bit, and the reason for it is I've already covered this in previous videos of how to do triggers and how to set up colliders. So we'll quickly speed through, we'll hit play. What have I forgotten? I've forgotten a semicolon. And wait for that to clear. No errors, so let's hit play. Now when I hit play, I go over to my fire, and you'll actually see that the player walked through. Now one thing that I'm going to remove from my player, if you didn't see it, as I'm walking into my fire, you'll see the green particle effect take place. I actually want to get rid of that off my controller. That's actually off my trigger script. So I'm going to go through and remove that component. Now I did actually notice that there was a message that came out, the player walked through, and that doesn't actually match the message that I had in my debug.log. So there's something going on here. And that comes back to that trigger script that I just removed, because I forgot to add the fire damage script. So forgetting to add scripts is one of the most common problems that you have when you're debugging. So drag and drop that on. Let's hit play. And you'll now actually see in the console it's now saying I'm in the fire, which is just what we want. So now we actually have a quick collider trigger set with our fire effect in our collider. So what we want to start doing is we want to bring on our energy bar. So to bring up our energy bar, and this is the main part of this component, is I'll open up my assets window. Under EnergyBarToolkit, you'll actually see a couple of progress bar packs, pack 1, pack 2, pack 3. Have a quick look through them. You're welcome to see how they work. But I'm actually going to click progress bar, go to prefabs, and you'll see a number of different bars. Now, you can't actually quite see what they look like unless you drag and drop them into your scene, hit play, and you'll see it appear there. So I'm not a big fan of that one. But one thing to note before I go through is going from different version to different version, you'll actually see in your inspector window that you will need to fix some of the textures. And you'll see that this option comes up here. So it says it's recommended that this texture filter mode is set to bilinear or trilinear. So just by hitting fix it, it will fix it automatically for you. However, you do need to go through quite a few of them to fix it. So just make sure that if it isn't looking the way it's meant to, just double check to make sure there's no fixing options in there. The bar that I'm going to go with, I'm just going to move bar 1 out. I'm actually going to go with bar 5, so I'm just going to drag and drop that one in. And I'll hit play. So now that's kind of in the way. That doesn't really help us at all. And if I was to go into the fire, nothing happens except for that message down in the console window. So let's actually put it in the right spot first. So I could move it around, but moving it around isn't going to help us. What actually is going to help us is in our inspector window, you'll see a number of different things under the EnergyBar renderer script. You'll see textures, and that's what it starts to look like. And then you'll see position and size. So the very first one is position, 111.7 and 317.41. Now that is an actual offset. So currently it's set to top left, which means its pivot would be up in the top left of the screen. It's moved across 111 and down 317, which is not what we want. So let's actually reset that to 0. Once we've done that, let's hit play and just see what happened. You can see that's now dead up or going straight off the top left corner. So I'm going to leave that one there. However, it's a little bit too large. So I can change the size by a couple of different ways. The very first one is I can go manual size and type in specific values. Alternately, I can actually go relative to transform, and that actually goes off the scale values inside the bar. So I'm just going to hit play, and you'll see that that's fairly large. If I was to go through and change 0.5 and 0.5 on my X and Y, I hit play, you'll see that that's half the size again. So I'm just going to leave it at 0.5, 0.5. The other thing is it's all white. So you'll see that the outline and the inside is white. I'm actually going to make this like a health bar for this example. So I'm going to actually go down to appearance. In appearance, you can see bar color type and bar color. Click on that color swatch and let's go for a dark red. Okay, let's hit play. And that already looks a little bit better. Okay. So now I've actually moved it, I've placed it onto my scene, and we can actually see this value current. So the actual way that it looks, you can play with all these settings, and even the anchor if you want to attach it to a moving object. But this is actually going to display the player's health. So now that we've actually finished with the EnergyBar renderer, we can actually have a look at the EnergyBar script. Now there's 3 different values here. We've got value current, value min, and value max. The main one that you guys will need to play with is value current, and I'll just show you what that one does quickly. If we click play, you can actually see that our first person controller can still keep walking around. And if we want to, if I was to go through and change this value current, you'll see that that health bar moves up and down according to the value. So that's 92 out of 100. If I change that one to, let's say, 500, and then change that one to 90, you actually get the percentage that's colored in. But if it's 90 out of 100, and I'm just going to change that back to 90, you'll see that it's a percentage bar filled. So just keep in mind that value current, value min, and value max are all very useful, but value current is going to be the main one that you need to use. Okay, so now what I want to do is I actually want to make this value current changed. So I'm just going to go back into play mode again. when I walk into the fire, I want the health to go down. So to do that, what I need to do is I actually need to go to their help document in their wiki. So it's the EnergyBarToolkit wiki. And we have a problem that I did actually fail to mention, which we'll go back to, is the EnergyBarToolkit. If we have a look at all their scripts, they're all written in C#. Now, because they're all written in C#, you guys have been writing in JavaScript. Now, because you guys have been writing in JavaScript, we actually have to make one language talk to another language, which is why we're going to the EnergyBarToolkit wiki. And it's actually given us some help for accessing from different languages. So we're actually going to be using, I'm just going to speed through this information, but we're going to be using the send message function. And this one here, we're using JavaScript. I'm just going to go and do a straight copy. And I'm going to come in and paste that one down. So I'm actually going to clean this up just a little bit by moving my variable up to the top. And save it all off. Now set value f. What does that mean? Well, let's actually see if it even works first. So we've got our script. It is in my fire script. I hit play. And when I walk into the trigger, it should be set into 5. No? Well, why is that? Let's break down the code a little bit more. So the very first thing is this function change. I'm not a big fan of the function change. I'm actually going to change that one to update, just for demonstration purposes, to show you that as it updates, it's going to keep changing. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and change a couple of components. So the very first one is I'm actually going to have this 0.5. Well, 0.5 is the value that's going to be set. But I'm actually going to set that to health. So remembering I'm setting a health bar. If you're doing it with speed, if you're using the ratioing things or mana, you could use any variable. However, I do need to create that variable. So I'm going to go up and type var health. And I'm going to define that one as an integer. And I'm going to set that one to 100 straight off the mark. So what's going to happen, and I'm just going to place that one underneath for the moment. What's going to happen is at the very start, I'm going to get my health set. It's going to state 100. And every single frame, my energy bar is going to send a message of health. Now, what is this set value f? We could keep on guessing, we could keep trying, but let's actually read up on it. So if we read up the very top, it can be accessed with send message 4 different ways. There's set value current, which is an integer, set value min, integer, set value max, integer, and there's that set value f, which is a float. Now, the current value of the energy bar, I think this one might actually work quite well for us. So I'm actually going to use this one instead of set value f. Replace that one and put the quotation marks in where required. I'm going to quickly hit play. And you'll notice before I do that my bar 5 has a current value of 25. And the other thing you'll notice is in the first person controller script, it's actually asking us for an energy bar. Now that energy bar is the bar that we're using in our level, which is in this case called bar 5. So I'm going to just click and drag that one over. Okay, so let's just quickly hit play. And already you see that our health goes straight up to that 100. So just in case we wanted to make the level a little bit harder, I'm actually going to set that one to 50, not 500, to 50 straight off. And what that's going to do is just by saving and hitting play again, when we load our game, it's only going to go to 50, or it should. So what have we done wrong here? Well, when we change something in our script, we need to reset the script component here. So I'm just going to reset, and you'll see that that's now set to 50. However, we did lose the connection of our energy bar, so I'm just going to redrag and drop that one. If we hit play, you'll see that that now only goes to 50. But if I still walk into the fire, nothing happens except for that console message. So this is where we can go back to our script. And rather than actually putting in this message of debug.log I am in the fire, we can actually go through and put in health is equal to health minus 1. Don't forget my semicolon. And you'll actually see that whatever my health is, minus 1, and that's what my new health will be. So let's save that. Let's see what happens. Hit play. Again, my health is only 50. When I walk into the fire, you instantly see my health all but disappear very, very quickly. So we really do make our health disappear very, very quickly. So from that, what I'm going to do is in my inspector window, I'm going to set my health to 100. I'm going to hit play. And at least now I have full health. Let the fire get up a bit more. Okay, so I'm going to walk straight into my fire, and as soon as I walk into my fire, you'll see that my health starts to go down. I walk through the fire again, my health goes down a bit further. So with it being 1, that is actually quite a very fast health bar, and you'll see that my health is currently 1 in the inspector window here. So that is how we actually go through, and with this particular component and this basic script, and that line in particular, we're actually allowing our JavaScript file talk to the C# file, or C# script, sorry, changing those values for us. So that's actually how we would create a basic trigger system with a basic collider event that then goes on and actually then goes through and adds and removes health with the energy bar system. Now, if you wanted to go through, and this is just going to be the final thing I say on this one, is if you were to use the racing kit or the racing gauges. So the EBT racing gauges look a little bit different. So let's actually just bring it on the tachometer. You'll actually see that the tachometer with fuel and turbo is just an empty game object. We need to expand it, and then we have fuel, main, and turbo. And each one of these is a energy bar within itself. So if I just hit play quickly, you'll see that the bar 5 is behind it. So I'm going to quickly go in and just disable that one for the moment. And you'll see that that bar is there. So what we'll do is we'll quickly grab our main bar, which controls the speed, and drag that one over to be where our fire damage is. So obviously our speedo is not going to be fire damage, and our value is not going to be health, but it will show you the same effect of what that same script can do. So now it's at 1000. If I go and stand in my fire, you'll actually see that that's slowly going down up in the top left section. So where it says 1, it's the value of 100. Where it says 2, it's the value of 200. So there's a whole heap of different things that you can do there that's actually allowing you to change those bars. They're very easy to use, but just remember that when you actually are using them, that you do make sure that you have gotten rid of the extra components if you do need to fix up anything. So just again, you'll actually see in some of them, make sure you fix it, and that is how you'll actually use the energy bar system within Unity. If you have any questions in regards to this video, don't hesitate to ask me questions or send a comment or post below, and you can always have a look at any online forums to give you a hand.